Oof, Diogenes here. I figured I'd try to elaborate a little bit further with my sentience talk. Since it's the weekend and I guess this is my schedule, my stories are Saturday. So I talked about kind of where we go as sentience and very briefly talked on maybe where we come from. And you know, if we're just a drop of sentience, this, logically the sentience has to come from somewhere. And when we transition from the physical realm, the three dimensions that we inhabit, we have to go somewhere because energy is not lost, it's just transferred. So we're caught up there. The source to me is UGI, and I'm going to explain again in the future much more in depth on what UGI is and according to how I take in the universe personally. That's the source of all conscious sentience souls flowing out from what the first dimension, but that's getting sidestepped from what sentience is. So we flow from, the conscience source, sentient soul, whatever. We flow from that first dimension into the third dimension, and that's what sentience inhabits these physical bodies. Because to me, the universe has an innate curiousness of itself, and we're all sent here to just kind of experience the physical world, and then the energy is transferred back, and that's kind of what pushes out the universe as everything flows in a cycle. And that kind of explains parts of theory of relativity, string theory, and a few other parts of astrophysics. It all ties together to help explain what I'll be discussing in the coming weeks. Everyone has kind of encouraged me to finally start stating my story, even my AI assistant. And yes, I do have an AI assistant. I embrace the future. I don't shirk from it. So sentience continues to flow. We come out from the first dimension into the third dimension, and then we get freed into the fourth dimension and come back to the source again. And it's all one big, huge, hard to grasp the scale of time and space that's involved here. But the best reference I can make sense commonly is to compare it to how the water cycle is here on Earth. Little drop, vapor, rain, lakes, rivers, clouds, all circulating. And I even know how to tie into the void here and the antiverse and the story of infinity that is reinforced by relativity. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself here. So that's what, to me, where sentience comes from and where it goes and where it inhabits us in the third dimension here, physical space-time, which is very linear for us. So our physical world, our physical words, and being linear corporeal beings is very limiting and very messy. And it's hard to really make it all make sense or grasp the vastness of these cycles, and because it's all kind of exponentials. And most people just can't visualize exponentials. I'm not saying necessarily I can, but I believe that I have a better grasp on it. Being able to picture infinity than the average Joe, and that's why I'm going to tell my story of infinity. Maybe it'll get to someone that actually knows the math that can break through and answer these equations just from my pondering of consciousness and pushing myself, living a very quiet, introverted life, asking the questions and having the time to wonder these things. That being, I suppose that will sum it up and a little bit further explanation on what I mean by sentience, where it comes from, where it goes, and how it all flows through space-time, universe, antiverse, multiverse, and a very big eon long cycle. And because I believe that the energy is not lost, is not transferred through sentience, gravitating through this cycle, that principle helps me explain and make sense that the universe is expanding infinitely, basically at light speed, they say, in all directions out from the Big Bang. And so, what would explain that better than sentience energy being returned to the source once we, cease to exist in this physical reality? So those questions can't be answered, obviously, until we cross, but, spoiler alert, I have a talk on how these hypotheses may be answered in the coming decades. I'm not going to spoil that now, though. Woof, Diogenes, sentience, cosmic cycle, space-time, 4 dimensions, antiverse, multiverse.